Toby, introducing you to Bikers Talk Shop. We'll take you through this podcast to introduce ourselves and exactly where we would like to go with this podcast. So, biking is what brought us three together, although we all work in the same field roughly, with very different experiences that we're bringing to the table. There are lots of biking podcasts out there, and we are not trying to recreate a biking podcast. We'll give you a little bit of our biking background. What do we mean by talk shop? And why are we talking shop? And then look at what you can expect from us moving forward. Toby, how long have you been riding a bike and how did you get into biking?
Okay. So I started when I was 16. So I bought when I was 16, as you did in those days, Yamaha DT50, which is like a scrambler type bike. So I started with that. Obviously, I couldn't drive a car when I was 16, hence why I got the DT50. So I was riding that for a couple of years, and then I passed my driving test when I was 17. So then I got a car, so sold the bike. And then the next time I had a foray into motorcycling was when I went to Polytechnic, when I was 22. So I had a car then because I've been working for 4 years. And so I took the car, no, I sold the car, but then I went to Poly and then I wanted some sort of transport. So I bought, when I was a student, a Yamaha DT125. I passed my tests then when I was in Sheffield at Polytechnic. And then I sold that again within about a year because I was in Sheffield. It was somebody tried to pinch it and they cut the wiring loom and it was too much of a faff to have that as a student. So then I sold that, and then the next time I got into biking, which is the current stint, was when I was 40, which was a few years ago now, and I bought a Suzuki Bandit. And then I thought at the time, right, I better get my advanced training. So I did my IAM, Institute of Advanced Motorcycling, passed that quite quickly, and so I've been motorbiking ever since. So Leanne?
Hi. So how long have I been riding? I've been riding with a license since 2006. Why did I want to ride? My dad built and rode classic motorcycles, which were trials bikes. So I was always quite fascinated by them. And as I got to be a teenager, I wanted him to make me one. And he always said no. And for many years, I thought it was because I was a girl. And only just recently, I've talked to him a bit about it, because both me and my sister ride, and he's very proud of it. And turned out that the reason he would say no was because converting one of these bikes was extremely expensive. So yeah, had nothing to do with it really. And I don't think he thought I was particularly serious about it. But it's just something I'd always wanted to do. I had a boyfriend who rode motorcycles, and he gave me a 125, and that was it. Just went on from there. I got my test in 2006.
Nice. Thanks, Sally-Ann. My journey to biking's been a bit of a bitty one, not your traditional ones. Brought up in Pakistan, rode as a pillion many times without thinking about it, with all the chaos that goes around it, but they are smaller bikes. And you're going at a smaller speed, but there's loads of things happening around you, coming at you from all directions, and you just switch off to all that, and you're a happy pillion. But I did have the desire to learn and ride a bike myself at the age of 23, and a cousin taught me it was a site where there wasn't anyone, and we practiced and everything was fine. But as soon as I went out on the road, and this is in Pakistan, I got nearly run off the road. So, and I didn't know if it was because it was a girl riding the bike or whether it was just me not aware of the traffic. So that kind of stopped my journey on the motorbike for about 35 years, until my niece pulled into our drive on her new motorbike. And for me, it was like, I'm 58 now. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? So it took me 2 years. Did my bike test. I saw all these people who were natural on their motorbike, doing it at a younger age. They come within a week, they've passed, and I'm still there. I probably did the test 2 or 3 times, and I was probably the only biker that did actually like the 20 miles an hour zone. I do like riding slow. They started calling me Biker Daisy. I was quite a speed demon in a car, but on a bike, I am slow because my reaction time is that much slower, and there's a lot for me to think about. But yourself, Sally Ann and Toby, we all met up obviously in Wales, and we had our first road trip together, which was fantastic, to be able to share our hobby, even though we've come from very different directions to the sport. So yeah, it's been great. It's three very different journeys to this point. We've come together while we were on holiday. We thought, hey, it'd be great to do a podcast. We all have had jobs, been in the job industry for many years to a certain extent, and we've come at it from very different backgrounds. Why Bikers Talk Shop? Like I said, the biking community is huge, and there's loads out there on biking, but as a community, I think any community is quite friendly if you've got common interests, whether it's biking, whether it's rowing, whether it's football. You find your tribe, right? We're not trying to be a tribe. They're all established and out there. But when it comes to talking shop, what it means to me is the number of conversations I've had when we've had nights out at work, and people have turned around and said, let's come from different angles. Sometimes you'll be talking shop and everybody's happy to talk shop. You conclude the conversation, you move on to something else, shop or not shop. Other times people have interrupted, saying, oh, you're not talking shop, are you? And they kill the conversation dead. And I'm not normally happy with that. I'm like, well, actually, why don't you come up with a more interesting conversation? Don't shut me down. Come up with an alternative, So for me, talking shop isn't a problem, whether it's on a podcast like this or out there in the real world. The way people handle talking shop, because some people have only got that time to talk shop. You're busy, whether it's a personal life. I've come out with the boss. I don't get to come out with the boss. You probably get to come out with the boss a lot more. I want to talk shop with the boss. So, there's different atmosphere. I don't know how you two feel about talking shop, just generally, and whether this podcast we could freely talk shop about lots of different things and share our own experiences with the wider community.
So you're talking about shop when you're in a normal job at work. You go out on a night and then you've got your drinks, whatever, you sit at the table as a whole group of you, and then somebody starts talking about work and you think, I've just finished work for the day, you want to relax and stuff. But however, if it is all work people, then the thing that you've all got in common is work. Hence, you're naturally going to talk about work. If you start trying to think, okay, right, let's not talk about work, let's talk about something else. What have people got in common with? Nothing. And so there's always that initial stall of trying to find something that everybody's going to be interested in. Otherwise, then you start going off in little cliques on your own, like talking to the person next to you, whatever. So there's that, people haven't got anything in common with each other. And for me, as I've got older, you talk about shop, but you're a little bit more free and easy, what you could say. You could slag people off and all the rest of it, and you'd have a drink, and you'd, who cares if you slag your boss off? It doesn't really matter. You seem to carry on in your career regardless anyway. It's just a thing you did. But as you get a little bit older and wiser, when you're going out and you think about, the morning after, and you think, what did I say? And so, if you're drinking, it's kind of like safer not to talk about shop when you're with your colleagues in case you forget where you are or you're talking to. So in my mind, it's often can be dangerous talking shop.
Fair point.
I think it seems to be different depending on what company you're in. Way back, we used to go as a department, we would regularly go out on a Friday night after payday to the pub. And what I found was that it get a bit tipsy and talking shop actually really helped with your relationships with some of the other people who were in your department that might necessarily not work directly with but were in the same department. So in my case, the IT department. And it really did sort of help when we went back to work, where people were, because they knew you, because you'd been out for a drink, they were much more open to assisting you or you being able to approach them. And I found that really beneficial back in the day.
It's quite good for bonding, isn't it? That's what you're getting at, is bonding people together. Which is
and
why...
Then sort of latterly, I work from home now, so, and I live very different place to where my office is, and so I don't go in very often, but obviously when I do, one of the reasons for going is to go out after work. I find it a great way to talk about work, but with a drink in your hand. And yeah, be careful about what you say. Don't get too drunk, don't say stupid things, but it's kind of like getting things off your chest or sorting things out or getting advice, but in a much more relaxed setting than the office. It's kind of like an office out of office, but with drinks. And everybody's more relaxed, and you actually can get some quite useful information in those scenarios. So I personally think it's a really good idea to socialise with your colleagues as long as you don't get too messy.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're all on the same pages, and you can talk shop but read the room, because it might be a right time or not right time, and you might need to be a little bit careful as well, whether you're talking shop or not talking shop. It doesn't matter, you've got to be careful because you've got to face your colleagues the next day.
In the morning.
Yeah. We've all worked in lots of different types of companies. So when we're talking about work, I mean, the work environment now, with, I mean, this is a podcast. We're choosing to do this. This isn't a job, but podcasting is a job for some people.
So you mean I'm not getting paid for this?
Sorry, maybe. If we ever get any subscribers and people who want to contribute, yeah, maybe we should put a little donation button at the top. So you've got podcasters, you've got people working on their own, social media, all sorts of new types of avenues, and we're only discovering this one for ourselves at this point. But before that, where we come from is whether we're working in, for me, the job could be within a corporate company. It looks very different from a medium-sized company or a small-sized company. And by small-sized company, I'm 2 or 3 people or less than 20 people. And then a medium-sized, maybe somewhere between your corporate, which is global and international with strict processes and systems. And in the middle, somewhere between that small and medium. The key distinction for me is that the small one, it's self-owned, the owner, everybody in the company knows the owner. The owner will promote or reward you directly, tell you to take a time off or, go home, or they notice your work. Whereas in a corporate space, you can become a bit anonymous and you rely on those above you to argue your case with the decision. So it's anonymous in the corporate space, visibility with the owner in the small medium space, possibly. And then you've got your podcasters and social medias, totally different kind of maybe ethic going on there. What's your experience of the kind of places you work in? Sally-Anne, should we have a stab at it?
Well, I worked for the same company for 26 years, not necessarily always in the same department.
Well, you were a body shop before.
Well, I was going to say,
Very different. Or no?
Yeah, so prior to that, I worked in retail, and that was very different. It wasn't corporate in that way. I did work for a franchise of the Body Shop. I worked for an independent retailer in South Kensington, but again, not in any way corporate. So my first corporate job was the one that, for the company that I currently work for, and they're very different types of jobs. I left retail because that's not what I wanted for my life. Fell into doing something that I'm not qualified for academically, but something that I've just sort of built over the years, really.
You, Toby, what's your view of all the different types of work environments?
Well, so in my time, I've been mostly contracting. So I've worked mainly for big corporates. There was one contract that I did a few years ago now, which was quite small, as in probably about 40 or 50 people in the company. And in the bit that I was actually in, there was only about 5 or 6, which was in Plymouth. And the main body of people were in Ireland. So that was interesting, I suppose, insofar as, the work that you're doing, I suppose you can perceive as having more impact because you're driving, whatever you're doing is you can see it's for the benefit of the company, and the company may fail or not fail depending on a lot of the work that you do. Whereas in a big corporate like HSBC or Deloitte or any of it, what you do, you could say, doesn't really matter. The company's not going to go bankrupt because of the work you do. So, but I mean, the way you deal with that is the fact that when you're in a big company, you perceive it as a small company in the fact you're working for your manager and you're working for the people around you. So you're working in a team and you're producing an output, and it's the output that you do is the output from your team. So you could perceive that as a small company. So you could say it's just a bit of a mindset. Obviously, if you're working in a small company, you're more likely the work that you do will have the effect of either putting you out of a job or not. Whereas in a big corporate company, you're protected from that.
It's interesting. You both touched a little bit on your work, almost your journey through work. I've moved between small companies, corporate companies, all sizes. Are you both on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anybody was ever interested, they could get an idea of where we've moved, how we've moved around. For me...
Or not, in my case.
Yeah, but like you said, corporate companies, sometimes people have more movement in different types of roles in a big
Yes.
corporate company versus doing the same role in lots of different companies.
Yeah.
You know, there's a huge mix out there, isn't there? I guess the main thing is that all three of us have had different journeys and different types of companies that we've worked for. So, and that's the experience we're bringing to the podcast, which over time, hopefully, we can share with everybody. Our common interest is to do a podcast. Hence, we're going to be trying this out. It'd be great to know if we ever make it out. Well, let's be positive. If we're going to go out there, and we've got a list of topics that we could cover, and I think we'll go through a lot of them. I think, is there any parting message as we start? Because I think we're looking ahead, and we're looking at touch on AI, speaking candidly, talking about company politics, just to give you a feel for the kind of podcast we've got coming up ahead. Agile. We've got our very own Scrum Master, seasoned Scrum Master, Delivery Manager Toby. We've got all the different roles in Waterfall and Agile, whether it's the BA, testing, systems analyst, technical analyst, Sally-Ann. You know, we've all touched different roles. Shop Manager, Sally-Ann, as part of Body Shop, isn't it? Was it Body Shop?
I was a manager for a few.
Yeah, so there's loads of different experience to bring here. And then touch AI again, because I think AI deserves a couple of sessions. We might keep interjecting with AI. But we'll kick off with those, and hopefully we get ideas from those that are listening to see what they want to hear us talk about, and we'll see. And I've seen a lot of channels go, if you like us, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll try and keep people entertained and share our experience. It'd be great to be able to do that. What do you think, guys? Any closing words, Toby?
There's certainly a lot to talk about. Obviously, we've got a lot of similarities, but yet, you know, we've had three separate paths, really. So it'd be good to see where they merge and what common themes we can pick up on as far as office politics and best way to get on. And as you say, AI is going to be a massive, massive game changer across industry-wide. So that would be a good one to talk about.
Sally-Ann?
Yeah.